and welcome to Versus Live. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Anderson. That's Ross Merriam. And we're bringing you some Ravnica Allegiance today. This new standard format is shaping up to be quite something.
Yeah, a lot of powerful cards have been previewed since we last saw all of you on Thursday. So we've been putting our Bruin caps on, trying to figure out what this set is really made of. We're trying to figure out the 5 guilds of Ravnica Allegiance. Just like during last preview season, we really tried to hammer home what the 5 guilds from Guilds of Ravnica were about. So we're focusing on those today. We're doing a Guild Wars. So we got one deck from each guild,
okay,
and then one spicy Todd Anderson brew at the end.
Well, it's something. I don't know if it's good, but there's one card that I've been really itching to try, and that's Wilderness Reclamation. This 4-mana enchantment functions very similarly to the like busted Seedboard Muse type effects that you see in Commander pretty often. We have these every now and then in Standard, but they're usually attached to a creature, and we don't usually have as many insanely good flash cards or instant speed cards that we do right now. So cards like Nexus of Fate you can abuse pretty well. I've been trying to brew a version that plays the something Authority, the new card, the 7-mana thing.
Emergency Powers.
Emergency Powers, that's the one with addendum that was first previewed. And for 7 mana, we both Time Twister, and then I get to play a permanent. And if that's Wilderness Reclamation, I get to untap all my lands, and then I get to cast Nexus of Fate, and then I get to untap all my lands again. So that's something I've been trying to work on. But the version that I'm going to be playing in the last match is interesting, but not as degenerate as it could be. I really just want to see if Reclamation is all I think it is.
Okay.
And once I figure that out, then we might push it. We're just going to keep on edging forward with it.
Yeah, so we're going to be leading up to that match at the end here. If you want to take a look at the deck list that we have for you today during each match, we do not have Cardboard Live up right now because they do not have cards from Ravnica Allegiance. So we're going to be going back old school with the command in chat. That's ! versus VS deck lists. So you can type that into the chat to get the current deck list that we're playing in that given match. And at the end of each match, we're going to try something a little fun today. We're going to be running a poll, and you can vote for whichever of the 2 decks, either the one that I'm playing or the one that Todd played, that you want to keep around for Thursday's show. So that deck we'll continue to work on it. We'll revise it, and then we'll come on Thursday with an updated list. Yeah. And then the other deck will just get thrown in the dustbin, and we'll move on, and we'll find something sweet to do.
Yeah, personally, we might end up playing like a similar build, but just like updated with new cards, or just like cut the cards that are bad and replace them with tried and true things.
For things example, that people do with their decks, you refine them.
Right, but I want to stick within the guild, but I don't necessarily want to stick within that specific archetype. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
Okay, because I will if okay. So today, one of my decks is a Simic deck, kind of centered around Wild Growth Walker, Zagana, and then we have the big Hydroid Crassus on the top end. But I want to try, if Simic wins the poll, I don't want to just do this again. I want to try a different Simic deck, because there's so many cool, Simic-based cards coming out. Growing Rites of Itlimoc, when we were just, playing before the video, felt really strong. So I kind of just want to just try a bunch of random stuff with that card specifically, and not worry about, porting over.
Well,
mostly.
You don't have to do much convincing to sell me on Gaia's Cradle.
Sure,
so
that's fair.
I'm in for that. So at the end of each match, we'll do a poll with whichever guild you prefer us to continue working on for Thursday. So we're going to start off today with Orzhov on my side and Simic on Todd's side, right?
Yeah.
I got that right.
All right, so I'll talk about my deck first, and then we need to let you talk about your deck a little bit.
Before we get into it,
I'd
like
go ahead.
to mention that we just had a Beef Sandwich 28 with a sub for 3 months in a row, and they had a message.
Nice.
They said, as a UGA fan, there are times where I hate you, Todd, but nonetheless, I'm always a fan of the content. My apologies for the game yesterday. Wish all the SEG crew the best.
All right, I appreciate it. I want to stay away from that. If you want me to have a good show and keep my sanity today, we're not going to talk about it as much as I... Anywho, this Simic deck kind of centered around being rampy, but there's these little mini synergies between Zagana, the new one, that whenever you enters the battlefield. You draw a card if you have a creature with a +1 counter. Works well with Explorer. Works well with Wild Growth Walker. That package is tried and true, the Wild Growth Walker with the Explorer creatures. And I wanted to see if that was able to give you enough longevity to make it to the late game to play a giant Hydroid Crassus. And so far, it felt like it was good enough. We don't really have a lot of interaction, so I could see this deck getting smushed by like a mono red deck, Experimental Frenzy type thing. But if we're able to get Wild Growth Walker growing, pretty excited about the prospect of this archetype. We have a couple mana sinks for the Cradle and Shapers of Mystics, Mystic of Shapers, Shaper of Mystics,
Shapers of Nature, right?
Shapers of Nature. That's the one. Not a constructed all-star, but it's got 2 abilities that work pretty well in the deck, putting counters on things, removing counters to draw cards, and it's a huge mana sink for this really powerful enchantment that we transform.
Yeah, anytime you can find a mana sink for a card as powerful as Gaia's Cradle, you're going to start doing some really degenerate things. So we were playing some test games before we went live, and this deck can generate some really huge amounts of mana and start going way over the top of sort of normal mid-range magic that we've come to expect out of the Explore package. So I like a lot of what's going on here. I think Zagana is a very powerful card. Just efficient body, draws a card, has a lot of different abilities, is always relevant in the course of the game. So excited to see what the Simic can bring. On my side, Orzhov is certainly token themed. I know a lot of people have been talking about aristocrat style decks. We have Pitiless Pontiff as a nice sacrifice outlet, but I think in order to make things like that work, when you have Judith and you're going the sort of Mardu route, you really need sacrifice outlets that don't cost mana to use so that you can set up those big combo turns where you sacrifice your entire battlefield and deal a ton of damage. And I don't think the tools are really there for that. So I wanted to find a different way to take advantage of the token theme in Orzhov, and the piece that I found for a payoff was Divine Visitation. So we got all these creatures that make tokens when they die with Afterlife, like Tithe Taker. We have
Hunted Witness.
Yeah, we have Hunted Witness already, and you have History Finale as another token generator. You can start making a bunch of 4/4s. Your Teysa Karlov gives them life links. You can win races after you spend a little bit of extra time setting everything up.
Yeah, also doubles up on the token generation. So that's a pretty sweet turn 4, turn 5 play. All your creatures are unblockable, basically, because if I start blocking them in combat and they die, you get multiple 4/4 lifelink angels.
Yeah, so a lot of synergy here. I'm playing some Vicious Offerings as a secondary sacrifice outlet that functions as a very nice removal spell. So that's sort of the base removal spell in the deck. It can handle anything from like small, cheap creatures out of the red and white aggressive decks. It can handle a Danto Vanguard all the way up to Niv Mizzet. So really nice flexibility out of a 2-mana removal spell there if you can afford to pay the cost of sacrificing a creature, which this deck often takes advantage of. So I think that's going to be a really key card here. And hopefully we can just function as a beatdown deck in some of the games too. We got Legions landing into 2-drop into History, can do some damage. We've seen curves like that for the last 3 months with the white aggressive decks. So I'm towing the line between those, but have these a big synergy payoff in the end with Divine Visitation.
Yeah, and I did one thing that's important to note is that for the most part with these decks that we're building today, we're just trying to see if they function. Like we have a lot of cards that we're kind of experimenting with, throwing a lot of new cards into a mix, giving old cards a second chance, basically. And if these cards function, let alone if they're good, if they function, then we can start progressing our deck building in such a way that we can really start pushing these to the edge of their limitation. Because at the moment, I don't think you're pushing Divine Visitation to the edge of its limitation. I don't think you're pushing the token strategy, because you could splash red for Miss Diva, who's
Judith.
Yeah, what? Judith? I ain't no fantasy name. Not gonna get
a regular name,
right? I think that we can stretch these a lot, and it's going to take just figuring out whether or not a card is functional, let alone good, before we really start to push it. And you're going to see a lot of that today, where we basically will play a card for the first time and be like, "Holy crap, this card's really good," or "This card's not nearly as good as I thought." And I'm really hoping Wilderness Reclamation is the card that I think is better than I thought, and I already think it's nuts. So we'll see. Field a few questions before we get started. Go ahead.
We have
look
one.
At
First, we have a Tash 901 subscribed to Trich Prime, and they also asked, "How do you both feel about Drill Bit?"
Well, I think both of us have Drill Bit in one of our decks today. My Rakdos deck next round has it in the sideboard. I think it's going to function very similarly to Duress in that slot in the sideboard, but in a more slanted towards aggressive strategies. I think it could be better because it can hit creatures, which is important. But also, if you're able to turn on the spectacle ability, then it'll just be cheaper.
Yeah. It really comes down to how many significant creatures the more aggressive strategies have to answer with discard spells.
Mhm.
And right now there is one that you seemingly have to, and that's Niv Mizzet, though for a black aggressive deck, there's usually some answers like Playcraft or Ravenous Chupacabra that you could play. So if it turns out that they can just rely on those removal effects to deal with these problematic creatures, then I think you're just going to lean towards a duress. And then there is the potential that Drillbit is just powerful enough to main deck.
No, that's possible. Yeah.
I'm not sold that it is, so I think it's really competing for sideboard space with duress, which is a tough card to compete with. This has been a standard staple for years, so I mean, I think it's a question as to which one is better, and so we're trying out the new cards in our sideboard, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being worse, but it's hard to say. Like I don't know how much the downside of having to cast it post combat if you want to cast it for 1 mana is. Like if you want to beat Settle the Wreckage, I think tapping 3 mana for it is fine. Usually just like killing them that turn if you're going for it. So that's not a big downside. And for the most part, like it's probably not a big downside to cast it second main. So being able to take a Crackling Drake out of a Jeskai deck or an Izzet deck and something like that could be good. And it also just depends on how the format shakes out.
Yep. Any more?
Do you think Mardu Angels might make an appearance with Seraph of the Scales and Bedevil from Weep for Humanity?
So you're talking like a Boros Angels deck that adds Seraph.
Seraph is the one in your deck with Afterlife.
Yes,
right?
with Afterlife 2. I don't think you would be very interested in another 4-drop. Like your curve is already pretty high. Is Seraph better than Rekindling Phoenix?
Is it better than Aurelia? I don't know.
Well, I think it's what's your secondary creature next to Aurelia if you want more 4s. And is it better than Rekindling Phoenix? Probably not.
Yeah.
And splashing Bedevil in that list is going to be really hard. If Bedevil were red, black.
Right? Yeah.
If Devil were red, black, then you'd be in business.
I mean, there's also a chance that there's just a different archetype that comes out of these cards existing. You know, like you could build like a base black-white Angel deck, right? And just splash red for Bedevil, splash red for Lava Coil, and those are like your only red cards. And Aurelia, yeah, you have like 12 red cards, perfect mana with all the dual lands, but you have to recognize that every time you build we're all building 3-color mana bases for like the third time now in these Ravnica formats. The first time around, we didn't have the buddy lands, the glacial fortresses,
we had pain lands, which was even worse. Yeah,
right. And so we dealt ourselves a ton of damage, and most of those decks end up being 2 colors. Whenever we went to 3 colors, it was usually really aggressive, and we were okay taking damage because we were like playing Kurt Apes and stuff.
Yeah,
the second time around, when we had this basically the same mana bases that we do now. We had the glacial fortress and all the shock lands.
Also had Farseek.
Yeah, and but the decks that you saw playing 3 colors would be built in such a way where they had Sphinx's Revelation to recoup that life,
or Thragtusk,
or they had Thragtusk, and now we're gonna get into these or Blood Artist. We saw that a lot too, and we're gonna be getting to a spot now where if you play 10, 11, 12 shock lands in your deck, there's a good chance that you're just gonna lose to mono red Experimental Frenzy, mono white, or white splashing Heroic Reinforcements, and they're just gonna run all over you because you deal yourself an average of 4 to 6 damage a game. And so you just have to figure out why am I splashing this Bedevil in my Boros Angels deck or whatever.
Yeah.
And
the splashes aren't free. Yeah.
All right. Let's just go ahead and start the games. Yeah. All right.
We didn't roll dice.
We did not. I roll?
Sure.
5.
8.
It's all you, baby.
Game.
How's your hand?
Pretty good.
Mine's pretty sweet.
So there's a question of whether or not I lead on this or this. If I lead here, then I can pretty naturally curve these 2 together while leaving the 1-up, which I like, or just double spell if I feel safe. So I think I'm just going to lead on them. I guess if I'm going to double spell, I might as well just play the tap land on 3. Yeah, I'll just lead on the Witness. Go. That's not good.
Dude, Lone World's tight.
Attack for 1.
Block. Just kidding.
Yeah. Got me a little excited there. You're at 19. Play a Tithe Taker. So it's a 2/1 during my turn. Spells that Todd casts or my opponent's casts are going to cost 1 more, and abilities activate are going to cost 1 more.
Yeah. Do we have these new cards queued up to be able to bring up whenever they come up?
Yes.
All right. So let's get Tithe Taker on the screen while take my turn. Mine's going to be fairly generic.
If you watch last Thursday's episode, this is a very impressive card out of Todd's sideboard and Esper Control Shell.
We don't have a lot of ways to abuse these abilities on Shaper yet, so I think I'm going to Graveyard. We'll get a Breeding Pool, so you know I have this. Your turn.
That's convenient. Now I get to attack with this Tithe Taker.
Yeah, I could have put 2 counters on it and just kept this, or put in the graveyard on the second one. We'll just take the damage.
Brings it to 17. I'll play Memorial to Glory and Pitiless Pontiff. This is the sacrifice outlet here. Notably a vampire, so we might be able to get some cool vampire tribal decks going.
All right, we're going to play a Zagana Utopian Speaker. This 4-mana 4/4 enters the battlefield, checks if any of your creatures have a +1/+1 counter. We do, so we'll draw a card. Also has Adapt, as well as all my creatures with a counter on them have Trample. I'm going to swing in, because this doesn't block very well.
Okay, I'll take 3, go to 17.
All right, your turn.
So because Pitiless Pontiff can gain Death Touch and Indestructible, it can pretty freely attack here. Yep. So let's get in for 2.
Yeah, I don't really want to trade Zagana for Pontiff. I think Trample is pretty important in this matchup since it's able to put in a bunch of these little blockers with second lives.
That brings you to 15.
That's what I got.
I will play a Seraph of the Scales and go to the skies to start putting some pressure on Todd over here.
All right, I'm going to start with Adventurous Impulse. I don't really know what I'm looking for. Hydroid Crass is pretty good, but we're not like super set up on mana just yet. But we have, I mean, we can play out it quite a bit this turn. Let's play a Branch Walker. Zagana number 2. We'll put that one in the graveyard. Even though it can draw a card or whatever, it's not that bad. I don't really want... I mean, I think the 4/4 flyer is... Or the 4/3 flyer is a little more dangerous than the 2 tokens. And I need to start attacking, I think. But maybe this is a bad attack because he can just block with this. Alright, we'll just attack with this.
Feels like I'm like giving up a little bit of value trading right now, but taking the pressure off me is nice. I guess we're facing down a Crisis maybe next turn. That could be a 3/3. That's actually a reason to keep the Seraph around because the tokens don't rumble with the Pontiff. But I do think I want to prevent this 4 damage. So maybe I just chump with the Hunted Witness for now. Okay. Yeah, let's just chump with the Hunted Witness and get ourselves an Aaron Barrage.
All right, I'm going to play a Forest and 2 Line Orals and say go.
Okay. And
this can gain Death Touch or Vigilance.
I'm going to play a Teysa Karlov.
Yep.
And attack with Pitiless Pontiff and Seraph of the Scales. I guess I can also attack with Tithe Taker.
You don't want to give it Vigilance?
No, I want to leave up this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Tithe Taker trades with everything here, and you would give me 2 tokens to...
Yeah, this is basically a free attack.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not really, because...
I mean, this is a 2/4, so like this checks these.
No, that's not what I meant. I was talking about... I basically force you to spend mana. And I can just do this, and then you'll just sack this. But I don't really want to take the damage. I guess you could sack this instead and then let these trade. So,
all right, you're going to be up to 8 mana next turn. You can play a 6/6.
Yeah. I can't take this damage. I don't think so. I'll just block like this. Depending on your hand, I think you should do this and then let these.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do.
So it gets indestructible,
and lifelink.
And lifelink.
So I'm going to gain 2 and you take 4.
Yep.
It gives me to 19, you do 11. And then when this dies, I'm going to get 2 spirits because of the Teysa Karlov.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have lifelink and vigilance in addition to flying. Pass the turn.
Yep.
This Hydroid Crisis is going to be a problem. So,
All right, 6/6 flyer.
so you gain 3, go to 14.
Yep, and I'll draw 3.
Rush, your creatures had vigilance, right? Or is it
Only
just
the
tokens?
tokens have
Oh, sorry.
vigilance
Yeah.
from Teysa. She's token creatures only, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And then I am gonna attack with this.
Could trade Teysa for this Zagana, but I don't think that's worth it. I think I'll just go to 15.
Yep, your turn.
The thing has flying and trample.
Sure does. Does it all.
I guess the Seraph gains Death Touch, so it can still attack.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I only have the one black source, which is awkward to say the least. So giving Vigilance doesn't really do a whole lot as a result, but I do think I want to.
Well, if you give Vigilance, then that means you can play defense with it too, right? So.
Oh yeah, because you don't have to block. If you block, they're going to trade. Yeah, so Vigilance is.
So
I don't need 2 black.
Makes it so that I should like 95% block because I can't really attack.
Do I attack with these then? Are you just going to eat a spirit? Is that something that you would be interested in? Thing is, no, I think I just attack with these after giving Vigilance.
Okay. Now, if I do block, he still gets the 2 spirits.
I would get 4 spirits.
Fudge. Well, you can basically gain 4 spirits of will.
Yes.
All right, block.
Okay, give Death Touch.
Yep.
So
All right,
these
so I'm
will
going to
trade.
take 2. I'm going to go to 12. You
And
get
I got 4
4
spirits
tokens.
because of Teysa.
Man, I really need a walking ballista right now.
And I will pass the turn.
Yeah, Teysa, once it gets going, if you don't have a way to interact with it, it's pretty gross.
These spirits are gonna be tough to race because they have lifelink.
Yeah. And vigilance.
Yeah.
All right, we can at least threaten an 8/8 trample here, which ain't bad.
I mean, if that's what you're gonna spend your turn doing with me at 15, threatening to gain 8 next turn.
I mean, I can just attack.
Yeah.
You know,
No blocks.
I'll just delete 4.
Go to 11.
Okay. Vivian, and I will plus. I've already played a land. I will cast this. Trigger. I will keep
Ooh,
that.
that's not a good sign.
That'll force you to interact with the Vivian. I guess you just send all 6 of Vivian. That's not a big deal. So I think I have to put this in the graveyard. This is really making me want to splash black for Fine Finality, by the way. So maybe that's like step 1 in improving this deck. Because you can just cast the Find half for GG. Okay, go. So he's just going to attack Vivian anyway. And the Wild Growth Walker doesn't really get me out of this.
So these have vigilance. Do I want to attack Vivian?
I mean, I'm at 12.
Ross, you're at 11, right?
Yes, I'm at 11. Todd
You
is at
should be
12.
9, apparently. Apparently, you gained life from something when you attacked with the Pontiff. You attacked with the 3 creatures. You attacked with Pontiff, Tide Taker, Seraph, and you gained 2 life somehow.
The Pontiff. Oh yeah, it doesn't gain lifelink. It gains Death Touch and Indestructible. Okay.
Okay.
My bad.
Sorry.
Oh, that's cool. Ross confusing me with his new cards.
Yep. No, it gains Double Strike and Pro Green.
Yeah, Pro Green is the good,
yeah.
That's the good ability.
Yeah.
Just kill Vivian and gain 6.
Yeah. This attacks.
I'm gonna block.
I have Memorial.
Sure. All right.
So I just pop this. So send all the spirits at Vivian, send Pontiff at Todd.
All right, block.
So sack Memorial, get 2 Aaron Bariches, and then sacrifice one of them to give it Death Touch indestructible.
6, 15.
You didn't take any damage. Vivian died.
Yes, you're correct.
So 12 to 15.
That's correct.
Okay. We've got everything down, I guess.
Mostly down.
Maybe that was bad. Maybe I'm just supposed to leave the Pontiff back because of this Zagana. But I'm gaining so much life that I don't really think it matters. Okay. Okay. Not a Hydra Crisis. That was step 1.
Just 4.
Yep. That's
11,
what I thought. 11.
12.
I'm figuring that Todd is going to transform the Scoring Rights and then use that to finally adapt. After playing some more creatures here, just needs to leave up 1 blue mana. Yeah, probably just want to tap an elf here, leave up maximum blue mana. So now you're going to have 9. So that's
So now I can actually do both abilities, I believe.
well, 9, yeah. So you can adapt this and then use the blue ability from Shapers to draw a card.
Sure.
If you wanted to.
All right. Pass.
Yeah, I think I should have just left the Pontiff back. I think that might have been a weak line on my part. Ugh. I will attack you for 6 in the air.
I go to 6, you go to 17.
Maybe I'm supposed to actually attack with Pontiff now. Because, like, what are you blocking with? I guess you just jump with an elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just deal you 6. Go to 6, I go to 17. Isolated Chapel and play another Pontiff.
Yep.
Pass the turn.
All right, I'll put 4 counters on this.
Yep.
And then I'll spend 3 and remove a counter to draw a card.
Yep. So I think we're really looking for Crisis or Wild Growth Walker plus Explorer. But he's got a few cards to find it in and a ton of mana. Todd had been at 11 the turn before. I think he could have just ignored the Vivian.
Shock.
Ooh. That's a bad
6,
sign.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16. Make a 14, 14 and draw 7 cards.
And gain 7 life.
Yep,
So 11.
11. Your turn.
Strong land.
Hydro Crisis. Get yours now. StarCityGames.com. I might have just drawn 7 lands. I don't know. I did not only draw 7 lands. I think I actually needed to discard them. Sorry.
I don't think that's going to be relevant.
It might. Now I got 3 mana draw card on a stick. Was it 14/14 flyer with trample? Has double trample, super trample.
So you have 6 creatures. That's 6, 9, 11, 17 mana. Probably an 18th mana in your hand. So that's 4. That would end up being, this is 14, 21, 24, 26, 16 extra mana, 4 counters, put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 anywhere.
Just put it all here.
Well, this generates the most total trample damage. So 4, 8, 9, 16, that's 30. So
yeah, but you go up to 23 at least. If you attack with all the 6, you actually go to 28 because you'll lose 1 this turn and then have 5 back next turn to gain 5 more life. And then
I'm just wondering if I attack with the Pontiffs.
14 toughness. So
because the Pontiffs threaten to trade with anything.
You should be able to survive based on what is currently on the battlefield and all that. So
yeah, I mean, I can't beat another Hydroid Crisis, which you very likely have. But I think I do have to just send with the Pontiffs as well.
All right. Block both Pontiffs and a token.
So I will sacrifice the token that you block and the Aaron Barrage token.
Yep.
So both of those die. You take 5,
Yep.
and I gain 5. So you're at 6. I'm at 22.
Yep.
And that block suggests to me very strongly that there's another Hydro Crisis here, and Todd is just trying to extend the game.
Well, I'm trying to extend the game in general because I don't really need those cards. But
Yeah.
I do not have another Hydro just yet, but I have 2 Adventurous Impulses. So look. 3.
He's not slamming it. That's good.
No.
Okay. That's probably not good.
Yeah, this should actually seal it up now because I have triple Explore Creature in hand and Zagana to give this trample. So let's play Wild Growth. Let's play Jade Light. Trigger. Top.
Hold on. I got your counters covered.
Okay, go to 12.
Yep.
I believe I played a land.
Yes.
Nope, I need to do this differently. Okay, tap these 3.
Yeah, you need blue.
For another Jade Light. Yeah, I need blue for this.
So that's going to bring this to 4, keeping on top still,
Yeah,
bringing you
top.
to 18.
Mm-hmm. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, play this, go to 21, put a counter on it. And then use a blue, play Zagana. I'll draw the Jade Light range. I should have done that backwards, but
Yeah.
whatever. Alright, and then I'll attack with this with trample.
I will go to 8.
And, here you go. That's it.
Just your average turn and standard.
Give a man a Chaos Cradle, feed him for a day. Teach a man to transform the current rights of Itlamok into a Chaos Cradle. Make Ross miserable for a whole day.
Attack you for 5.
Yeah, I take 5.
Trigger the Legion's landing.
Nice. Dude, your deck is synergistic. Loving
And
it.
I am.
You actually get 2 tokens, right? Every
No,
time
it's
you
whenever something dies.
Ah, okay. So
Doesn't
you go to
double
13.
A creature dies. Even
I take 5. I'm at 16.
Yep.
Are you just dead to the Crassus?
Blockers.
Yeah, but it's gigantic.
I know.
Oh, everything has trample. I'm just going to attack with everything and give them all counters. Oh, no, I don't have the thing to give them all counters anymore. Okay.
I guess with all the other trample damage, I might be dead. I didn't do the math.
That's a lot. Because I can make this a 8.
If you adapt this, make it an 8/8. This is 22, 28, 7, 10, 38 trample. I need to prevent 25 of it. These each prevent 2. That's 10, 12. Make another one 14, 18, 22. Yeah, I am dead. And that's not even including the Llanowar Elves.
Oh, I found another Hydro Crest. Nice.
We did the math.
That was was a nice game 1 to showcase this deck.
Yeah.
Coming back from that.
I'm a synergy-based deck, too, that's trying to, go over the top of people, but you go over the top at here, so, I have to be the aggressive deck.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a short 3-minute break while we get our sideboards together. Make sure if you have any questions to @SCG Tour in the chat. Our buddy Rob behind the computer will be asking those after we finish sideboarding before game 2. Be right back. All right, we are back from commercial break. We are here with sideboarding. I am playing Simic. Ross is playing his Divine Visitation Orzhov deck. Didn't see any Divine Visitations that game. Would have definitely put that match in your favor, I think. Especially that turn where you made a bunch of spirits with your Tesa. I'll start on sideboarding since Ross is still kind of figuring out his last few cards. This matchup in particular is pretty difficult because Ross is sideboarding in a bunch of new stuff with Kaya's Wrath and Drill Bit. So got to see how that turns out. From my side, I just have a couple of Thrashy Bees, Thrashing Brought on the sideboard that we're going to be bringing in to help deal with things like Conclave Tribunal and the Divine Visitation. On occasion, we can snipe like History, Legion's Landing, but those are coming out. The body is also just fine. With things like Adventurous Impulse, having your disenchant effects be creatures is also particularly good. We can find this off of Growing Rice of Itlamok or Adventurous Impulse, as well as Vivian Reed. We're going to be trimming one Zagana, mostly because I think that 4 is too many. In our testing games before we started and things like that, I just kept drawing 2, 3, 4 Zagana a game, and the first one very rarely even died. Because this is never going to be like your best creature. It's usually going to be Wild Growth Walker or Hydroid Crassus or even Shaper of Mystic Shaper. I don't know. Shapers of Nature. There it is. Man, I don't know what's wrong with me today. So there's going to be something that's more important to target. So we're going to be trying one Wild Growth Walker because I don't think that Ross's deck is aggressive enough for me to warrant 4 of these, but I do want to find one at some point and assemble that big burst of life game like you saw in the previous game to make sure that I don't die to his flyers.
Yeah. On my side, I have to make a lot of changes here because if I sit and sort of dirtle around trying to make some angels and set up that way and be my normal sort of half aggressive, half synergy deck, then Todd's just going to go over the top of me like you saw at the end of game 1. So what I'm doing is I'm taking out the aggressive elements that attack on the ground, the History of Banalia's Legion's Landings, and then Plaguecrafter as a weak removal spell. I also don't need a huge density of sacrifice outlets in the post-board games because Todd's deck doesn't have removal, so my Pitiless Pontiff is just going to survive.
Right. I mean, we saw Ross cast 2 Pitiless Pontiff starting like turn 2 or 3 or whatever, and they just attacked every turn and never died.
Yeah, so a single Pontiff is more than enough to set up my synergies as far as the sacrifice is concerned. And then I have to bring in a lot of disruption and just try to stop Todd from assembling all of his stuff and go over the top with flyers and win the race that way. Mm-hmm. So I'm bringing in my drill bits. So we'll get to see how good this card is. And it's notable that this card is infinitely better than Duress would be in my sideboard.
Right.
Being able to come in a matchup like this. Yeah.
Taking away Hydroid Crassus from me seems particularly strong.
Yes. I've got additional copies of Conclave Tribunal that will take away some of Todd's bigger creatures. Can also target Growing Rights of Itlimoc to stop him from generating the mana. Mm-hmm. Another Lyra just as an additional flyer. I probably just have I'm 1 card short for this matchup and didn't plan for it.
Yeah.
And then I think the best card of my sideboard for this matchup, these 2 copies of Kaya's Wrath. Mm-hmm. Like I'm normally an aggressive deck, so this is a card that people might not see, but it works really well in my deck, especially if I have Divine Visitation or Teysa on the battlefield. I'm just going to cast Kaya's Wrath, leave myself with a ton of tokens left over.
Yeah, and potentially gain like upwards of 5 or 6 life and really buff your life total. The decks that have these creatures with second lives, like your Hunted Witness, Tithe Takers, and the entire Orzhov mechanic of Afterlife is really strong with Kaya's Wrath. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing not only how 4-mana Wrath affects the standard format, but one that looks like it's going to be specifically hard to cast outside of straight Orzhov.
Yes, and this is definitely a deck that can utilize it. Like we've seen Wrath of Gods in the sideboard of aggressive strategies before for matchups like this. And I think Orzhov is going to be a mechanic that can utilize that a lot. So.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Blasphemous Act, where you would cast Blasphemous Act alongside Boros Reckoner to do like a ton of damage to your opponent. But in some spots, you would just cast it with a Blood Artist in play and hit them for like 3 to 5 damage and gain 3 to 5 life. And it feels a lot like that without the potential to kill them, of course. All right, let's field some questions from chat, Rob.
All right, so we have one that's kind of been asked by a lot of people, and it's how far do you think mana bases will be pushed in the new standard, given all of the shock lands and the check lands? And specifically, we've had a few people ask about going turn 3 counterspell and control into turn 4 Kaya's Wrath, either Sinister Sabotage or Absorb.
Well, the thing about Kaya's Wrath and like an Esper strat is you need to make sure you have roughly 19 sources of blue mana to cast a turn 3 double blue spell. I think if you have 19 sources of blue, you hit that turn 3 counterspell roughly, I want to say 83% of the time, but it might be a little higher, might be a little lower.
We can crunch the numbers during the break.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Ross will be able to figure it out pretty quick. And then once you get to that point, like as long as your dual lands all tap for either white or black, casting Kaya's Wrath is relatively trivial. I mean, we've seen Grixis decks play Crackling Drake. Like we've seen Jeskai decks play Crackling Drake. We've seen Jeskai decks play Niv Mizzet. It does not seem very hard. So I think Kaya's Wrath could be just a good wrath for Esper control. So.
Isn't the issue getting up to that number of blue sources without playing that many islands?
Right.
Like every island in your deck makes Kaya's Wrath so much worse. So
right. So I think for free you get 16 blue sources, and so every island you play after that is a detriment. Because you get the Watery Graves, Halloweds, Drowned Catacomb, and
Glacial Fortress.
So you have 16 freebies, and then you have to play some number of islands. Just like when I was playing Jeskai Control, I had to play some number of planes because I had way too many red sources or whatever. So it'll be a strain at times, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. As far as like overall stretching mana is concerned, I think most people are going to stick to 3 colors or fewer. I could see like a Grow from the Ashes deck that goes big with ramping and maybe Gift of Paradise, things like that. You could play 4 colors, maybe even 5 colors. We saw Ali Antrazi do Lich's Mastery. We have Chromatic Lantern. You can do stuff like that. So I don't know. I think with the dual lands that we have access to and the cool fixtures we got, we can do whatever.
Yeah, I think it'll be doable.
All right, well, my hand sucks, but I'm going to keep.
Well, my hand's great.
We have 3 of our 4 islands in hand.
Speak of the devil. We'll play a Plains and 2 Hunted Witnesses.
All right.
Pass the turn.
All right, let's hit like one more question while we're just developing here in the early turns.
Todd, for you, why did you choose Adventurous Impulse over the Simic split card, Incubation Incongruity?
So Incubation Incongruity, I considered it over the Adventurous Impulse, but that card only gets creatures. It's basically Commune with Nature, whereas Adventurous Impulse is like Commune with Nature is like never been constructed playable, right? The back half is effectively like Beast Within but it's like only creatures, exiles them, and that card is marginal at best. I'll take it.
19.
I'm at 8. 19, yes, sorry.
Pass.
I chose Adventurous Impulse because it can grab lands, and I think that hitting your land drops in this deck is pretty important for things like Hydroid Crassus. So, if you're specifically just trying to build a super heavy creature-based deck around Hydroid Crassus, go nuts. But personally, I just think Adventurous Impulse is just a better card, so I'd rather lean on that one. No attacks here. Trading with Witness, bad.
Okay. Well, I don't have much going on here. Let's play a Tithe Taker. Okay, pass the turn.
Play Vivian, start ticking up, digging for more creatures that are troublesome for Ross. Wow. All right, I'm going to take Shapers of Nature just because we have access to a lot of mana pretty soon here. So, and here you go.
It's going to be an interesting turn. Oh.
Also, we had a question from Dale15. Given that we're going to have a lot of like 3 and possibly 4 color mana bases, how many basic lands should you play to protect against Field of Ruins?
I think 2 is the bare minimum in any deck. I would recommend at least 3, and I will probably lean towards 4+. I also think if you're playing a 3-color deck in general, you just want to play more basics than you feel like you should, just because having lands enter the battlefield untapped and not dealing you damage is going to be pretty great. I think you should actually build your spell base around being able to play more basics as opposed to the other way around.
You found Shapers of Nature, right?
Yep.
You got 5 in hand?
I do.
Okay. Tribunal Listing. Pass turn.
All right. I will let's start with Jade Light, Trigger. Zagana. I'll keep that on top. Gain 2 counters. I'll gain
6. 25.
And I will take the Zagana.
You looked at 4, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Your turn. Probably should have done that.
Transforms on ends up.
Mm-hmm. It's important to transform, like play it when you're going to transform it, so it doesn't get snagged by Tribunal or something.
Yep.
I probably should have attacked. You have 5. Whatever. It's not a huge deal. The longer the game goes, the better off I am, I think, anyway.
Now you have 4 in hand. I know one of them is Zagana.
Yeah, and a Shapers.
Yep. Okay, let's hope you don't have another Disenchant effect.
Well, I don't yet, but Let's see. Try to find it.
Do I attack at all?
I think you can safely attack with one creature no matter what. Because if I'm, tapped out, or I guess I have 4 mana, but it's green.
Yeah, I don't think attacking with a ton of creatures is good here because Todd can just take it and race back. He's at 25 life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 1 is just a free point.
Okay, 24.
Pass.
Ross, question from you from Kritchkid 2. In reference to your article today on Domri, what do you think about having the Explore package from Green Black in it and playing cards like Ferox, Phoenix, the 5-mana Drangid, and Carnage Tyrant?
So you're just a green-red deck with the Explore creatures? I think that's one way you can go with it.
I'm at 30. Keep talking.
I don't know. It's hard because I think the Explore creatures fit so well in a package supported by a lot of removal, and you can't really play Domri in a deck like that because you need such a high creature count. So I want to play Domri in a more aggressive deck that plays like big hard hitting creatures, and while Carnage Tyrant does fit the bill there, it can like easily fit in a different shell. So I'm not sure if those cards go together, even if the Explore creatures are quite good on their own. They just don't like fit in the same kind of deck. Like the Gruul decks are not going to play out like Golgari. So you kind of have to build them towards a different end, and Gruul is definitely going to be more aggressive. The question is Kai's Wrath good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Quite good. So you gain 3, make 3 angels. I lose everything, and my cradle gets turned off. Yikes.
Memorial, pass the turn.
Yeah, I needed to find a disenchant.
So I'm at 23.
Yeah, playing this might have been a mistake early because I just need to save it for something like that.
We did it.
Not yet.
We assembled the combo. I still
green naturally.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so
is this a crisis?
Yeah, we're gonna make a
3-3 or 6. Yeah, we draw 3 games. You're at 33.
Your turn.
Yeah, still probably losing this game.
I mean, you can make 2 more or 4 more 4/4 flyers.
I feel like I'm supposed to just attack and try to end this game.
I think so too. But
yeah,
all right, block. You
go to 25.
Yep.
Pitiless Pontiff, and I think I'm just going to do this now.
Yeah, so I don't have like instant speed.
Yeah.
Or counter
I need all this, so we make 2 more angels.
Yep. I will start with this Gunna, draw a card.
Yep.
Adventurous Impulse.
I think you just hit the tribunal first, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess there's no reason not to. Yeah, and then I'll
Yeah.
minus on this.
Yeah, you just got both.
I guess maybe I can float 3 before I sacrifice this. I think hold on one second.
You need to tap this to sacrifice it. Because
Okay,
you tap
I think
these
I
3
have
to,
2
so you have
mana.
2 mana floating.
I need to play this differently. Hold on. So
Okay.
what did I do?
So you've impulsed into that, and you have these untapped.
And I played this.
Yeah, you
So
use Zagana and impulse.
Zagana. Okay. And I've already played a Hinterland Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite do what I want to do. That's fine. All right. Brandon, tap it, sack, kill this. Go.
I'm gonna send this Pontiff at Vivian and the Angels at you.
All right. Block Pontiff, block an Angel.
Make 2 tokens and sack 1 to the Pontiff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 1 soldier left. You take 12, go to 13.
13 to 20 still?
So 23. I gained 3 off the Wrath.
23.
I have another chapel.
All right. We might be doing it.
Oh no, I am fully expect to be dead.
All right.
It's like another crisis.
It sucks.
Okay.
No, you might not be dead.
I might be dead?
No, you might not be dead.
Okay. I initially had Mortify in this deck, and then I cut it for Tribunal to like play well with the tokens. I kind of wish I just had both.
This is a May. No, the glowing rights transforms no matter what. I guess I'm probably not gonna have 4 creatures on the battlefield this turn. All right, let's take a look. That's exactly what we needed.
Still.
All right, I will play this. Play Jade Light. Gain 6 up to 19. Keep this on top. So 19 to 23. This doesn't transform because I only have 3.
Hey, Wrath like 6 creatures and made 3 angels.
I'm gonna do this backwards. I'm gonna play this and then use this to cast this, and then this will transform.
Sure.
All right, so this is gonna untap. It's gonna go to the graveyard.
And now you can put an extra counter on something.
Yep.
I'm dead.
No, you played out. You got 3 angels, bro.
You're about to play like a 10-10 Crisis and draw 5 more cards. It's hard to lose a game of Standard when you wrath your opponent's board and make three angel tokens.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very happy with how this played out. I'm not gonna lie.
Hybrid
okay.
Crisis is a powerful Magic card.
I agree with that. One thing I want to go over is your Orzhov's decks build. The Divine Visitations, I think they work really well with the Afterlife mechanic, obviously, but I'm not sure how I feel about the card History of Banali in this deck. I think you can go a more sacrifice theme, or at least you can go a more like small creatures and not really be aggressive theme. I don't like this like midway point. Like History of Banali as a bridge, but I mean the card is really powerful, so maybe it's just worth playing because it puts so much pressure on the control decks.
Would you rather see like more Disruption and Dusk Legion Zealot?
Dusk Legion Zealot sounds fine.
That was a card that was on my radar for sure. There's not really another good sacrifice outlet though, right? Like I have Plague Crafter and Vicious Offering, both of which I like.
I mean, I think like Midnight Reaper's non-token, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, more so than anything, I just want to point out how strong I think Kaya's Wrath is in your deck.
Maybe you need to main deck that card.
Right, and I think if you want to main deck that card, you probably shouldn't be playing History of Banali because of the negative synergy it has. You want to basically build up. Do you remember the old decks that played Rotlung Reanimator and Wrath of God?
The Cleric decks,
yeah, the Cleric decks.
You could play Midnight Reaper in a deck like that too. It's just
right.
like you're like playing creatures, so they're going to play creatures and use Wrath, and like gain back the life that you lose, draw a bunch of cards, and you end up ahead. And then you slam Visitation and start putting pressure that way. I could see that. Just build more around Kaya's Wrath.
Yeah. I mean, the card is there for a reason. It's 4 mana for a reason. They pushed it pretty hard, and it has the very obvious, like, in your face, you will gain life if you kill your own creatures. You should build around this. So I think, they're kind of giving us the hint, and we should maybe just push harder towards that aspect of the strat.
I think if that's the plan, then you don't want Seraph. You'd rather play the 3 mana 2/1 with Afterlife 2. Because it curves better.
You could also just play both, I mean...
I think you want to play Teysa, though, and like playing Teysa, Seraph, and Kaya's Wrath is hard to do.
That's fair.
And then you would play Mortify instead of Tribunal. But I think all of those things make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want some number of Contempts to get Exile and Planeswalker removal, but you wouldn't play Tribunal. I think that's a way to take it. I think Kaya's Wrath is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It'll certainly be good in this matchup.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think Wrath effects in general are going to be good in about 80% of standard matchups. And in the 20%, like, they're just dead cards. But any spot removal, your Vicious Offerings or whatever, like, those are all going to be dead anyway. So unless they're Conclave Tribunals, they're not going to have much value. Or Plague Crafter. Anyway, Simic deck. What are your thoughts on it? I know I had a lot of fun. I'm honestly kind of blinded with how sweet it was, and I don't really, in my head I'm just like, nah, it's perfect. I don't need to change anything. But I mean, what did you think? Like, do you think maybe I need more interaction? Like, my sideboard didn't feel like it had anything in this matchup, and I feel like maybe I should just have more disenchants, or like, I don't know.
Well, this is a matchup where it was clear that I didn't have the clock to pressure you, so you just doing your thing was good enough. And I didn't have enough in the sideboard to go towards that Wrath plan that would be good in this matchup. But if people are going to be playing heavy removal decks, even if they're just like Jeskai the way it's built now, with Deafening Clarion and Lava Coils and a bunch of removal, like they're going to be pretty good at keeping your battlefield clear and stopping you from transforming Growing Rights. And those are the decks where you're going to need some help. Granted, Hydroid Krasis being such a flexible card with the X in the cost makes it really good across every matchup. I think the card's just very, very powerful. And that's going to help you, but I think you need more towards that, like Krasis plus Jadelight Ranger plus Vivian plus like some other way to generate card advantage, or maybe just Carnage Tyrant somewhere. I don't know if you have them in the sideboard.
No, all that makes a ton of sense. The Carnage Tyrant, I think, is the big miss. I didn't want to put any cards in my deck during like the opening week that would overshadow new cards heavily. And at any point, I could just board in 3 Carnage Tyrants, and it would make my deck better if it's not functional. And I just wanted to basically play new sealed deck. Or new set sealed deck, to see how these cards work.
I guess you do have Zagana as another source of card advantage that's good against these control decks.
I mean, at most times of the game, like I had a bunch of cards in hand, like 4. Yeah. Like I don't think I ever got empty ever.
Yeah, I just wasn't doing enough to disrupt your engine, and your engine is more powerful than mine, so you win the matchup.
There were a lot of times where I had like 5 or 6 cards in hand, and over half of them were lands, and I think maybe. There's something I can do to fix that. Nothing off the top of my head.
You said so many mana sinks. I don't think that actually mattered.
Sure.
You were able to find the cards you needed by the time you were going to die anyway. Maybe it looked close, but that's because you drew poorly to begin with. So like the fact that you drew poorly only led to the games being close rather than the games being a complete runaway. Mm-hmm. And then that's fine. So if you draw average or well, they will be a runaway. That's where you want to be.
I do want to point out there are some really cool synergies coming up in Ross's next deck. He's going to be piloting a Gruul deck centered around the new enchantment.
It's centered around. It's just I don't know if it's centered around anything. It's just all the good Gruul cards. Really, it's another deck that's just trying things out. That's the Orzhov deck.
What's the name of the enchantment as far as you have mine? Your stuff.
It is Rhythm of Nature, Rhythm of the Wild.
Rhythm of the Wild is a card that I could actually see splashing in the deck that I'm playing, right? this Simic deck. It would of course require changing some of the early creatures, possibly even moving away from the Wild Growth Walker package in favor of just creatures that are generically more powerful and more aggressive. So I don't know. We played some a little bit with his Gruul deck, and when he played Rhythm of the Wild, I was kind of blown away. That card looked real nice.
It's another good card in the control matchup, so they're going to try to keep your board clear. You're able to resolve your Krasis. How does Krasis synergize with this? Exactly does it read? Or I
think it's just X. It just triggers on the X. It's not how many counters it has.
Is it?
Yeah, your draw and gain life.
Draw and gain life is
based on
X.
Half of X.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's a cast trigger. Yep, that's okay.
All right.
I was going to say if it rounded up your odd cost of that to the extra card and extra life, that would be nice.
All right. Well, we are going to be going to break while we prepare for the second match. But before we do that, we want to run a straw poll. We're going to have Dan May. He's in the chat. Run that for y'all. What archetype do you want to see Thursday? Do you want to see a different build of the Orzhov deck? Personally, not to skew the poll, I would love to see Orzhov come back and try a more heavy main deck Kaya's Wrath version.
Yeah.
This Simic deck, this is just goofy fun, probably bad against Wrath. And if Kaya's Wrath becomes the new norm, this deck might be completely unplayable. It's a lot of fun. If your opponent is just playing some mopey creatures or whatever, yeah, it's great. This deck probably kicks Golgari in the teeth. They just can't beat me drawing 5 cards and deploying as many creatures as them while also just having a flush hand at all times.
Our vote's pretty even right now.
Huh?
Our vote's pretty even on this straw poll right now.
Cool. Well, we're going to announce which one is the winner once we come back from the break. I think that's all I got for now.
Dabs HS just subscribed for 2 months in a row at Twitch.
Thanks for the sub, Dabs.
Saying Gruul.
If we got some questions, we can take those, I guess.
Yeah, let's take one or two. I mean, people seem like they're busy with the poll, but,
Yeah, we did have one question that was just kind of more generic. It was from, let's see if I can, I wrote the name down. I got to find it. Spark Trooper was asking, what cards are you excited for in Eternal formats?
So I can't remember the name. It was just revealed last night. The blue 1/1 flyer that has adapt 7 and a blue. It costs one less.
It's like something salamander.
Yeah,
I forget exactly.
Has adapt 4.
It was originally in I believe Japanese and then it was translated this morning, and I saw it and I was just like,
Yeah, so it's a single blue mana for a 1/1 with flying, has adapt 4 for 7 and a blue, but that adapt cost is reduced by 1 for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. And
Yeah.
now, I don't know if anyone knows, but I've been playing a lot of cheap instants and sorceries in my modern deck, and I've been looking for a cheap threat to like pressure, to pressure control decks or pressure combo decks, and
I think we can finally get Crackling Drake out of the deck. What do you think?
Oh no, that's not happening.
What, you cutting Thing in the ice?
No, we're cutting Swisper.
Oh,
That's the threat to cut.
Is it? Because Swisper seems really good.
It's not. It's been medium all the time. Other people, every single other person I talk to loves Swisper, and they're never good for me.
Well,
but I was already last weekend. Someone came up to me and asked me about Cryptic Serpent, and I looked at Cryptic Serpent. I was like, "That's actually interesting. I'm going to try that."
Yeah, it's like the one that's like delve but not delve.
Yeah, and then the Salamander got printed. I'm like, "Well, that's just better. It's just."
Better. Doesn't the other one have like hexproof too? It's like a 4/5 hexproof for 7 or something. Is that not the same one?
No, Cryptic Serpent is just 6/5 for 5 UU.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more question, I suppose. I think we're both in tandem with the Salamander being one of our favorite newer cards.
Once again, don't have to cajole Todd too much to support a cheap blue threat that you play next to cantrips and brainstorms.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there any chance the Simic deck would come back as a Sultai deck? I know you like getting asked about Sultai all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I think Temur, Sultai, like the core of the deck felt pretty powerful. I think Growing Rise of Itlimoc, in any matchup where your opponent is not casting a Wrath of God type effect, is going to be insane if you have the right mana sinks. I think Adapt is a decent mana sink, but you need to have the cards that have Adapt be good on their own without needing the mana sink. Yeah. I think Zagana is perfect. Like, giving things trample seems pretty sweet. Drawing a card when an ETBs is nice. But I think it's more about Growing Rise of Itlimoc and pushing that more than it is the Simic Guild. And if we're able to use the Simic Guild as a bunch of mana sinks on efficient threats, that's really where you're going to see the archetype shine. And we could bring it back and splash another color. I'm not sure if I'm going to. I might be a little too hard focused. But I mean, if it wins the poll, well, I'll definitely keep working on it.
So we'll keep that poll going during the break. We will announce the results when we come back in 10 minutes before our next match of Guild Wars Ravnica Allegiance.
Yeah, and we're going to have Gruul Aggro versus a nice one, Rakdos Diva. I don't know if that's the actual name of it.
Rakdos Menagerie.
I would call it Goblin Menagerie, too.
Yeah, Goblin Menagerie.
Well,
we're going to change it. Goblin Menagerie.